I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Watch this and tell me how Canada got its reputation as a multicultural nation.
Canada took in fewer Jews between 1933 and 1945, proportionate to its population, than any other country in the Western world.
Yeah, but Canada had its reasons, like this.
I think people economically were scared, and the immigrants were a good target.
See? Immigrants make excellent targets.
That's why today we're taking aim on what factors informed Canada's immigration policies in the 1930s, how activists fought against them,
and how the MS St. Louis, an ocean liner carrying over 900 Jews desperate for a safe place to land, came to symbolize the anti-Semitism of the times.
Our preferred immigrants are generally Western and Northern European, or from America and Britain.
That's Frederick Blair, as played by one of our debaters.
It's no secret that they mix better in Canadian society.
This thinking led to...
The whole country is rising up against Jews. It's not like few people hate Jewish people. This is clearly systemic.
But Blair and Prime Minister William Lyon Mackenzie King could get away with setting policies like this.
Our undesirable class consists mostly of Eastern Europeans, and our permit class is where the Jews fall. They attract more scrutiny for a reason.
In 1930s Canada, Jews were
worse than undesirable, and you need a special order from the government directly. I mean, can you imagine going through that today? It seems like it's not really an application at all.
Blair reviewed every single case himself. Just how harsh was he? Take a look.
In 1938, my father applied for visas to get his family into Canada, and he was successful. Everything was all lined up when his sister's husband was rounded up in Vienna and killed. He needed a change to the visa, and Frederick Blair refused and blocked it. Blair told him, "You Jews are too pushy. You will have to convert to Christianity and learn to live with your European neighbors." He was an extraordinarily hateful person.
And Blair wasn't alone in his thoughts.
The historic persecution of the Jews was nothing new in the 30s, and it's been going back for centuries.
But many Canadians, politicians, intellectuals, and everyday people rallied the government to change their immigration policies, though
it was just really easy for politicians to dismiss them.
Remember that Canada was just coming
out of World War I, the Depression, and possibility of another war and all these troubles.
You can see how it would be really easy to get in the mindset where there's Canadian citizens and then there's outsiders. We have jobs for Canadians, and outsiders are trying to take them away from us.
So when the MS St. Louis made its desperate pleas to the world for help, the Canadian government ignored them.
It's easy to look at this issue in hindsight because we know that they're going back to the Holocaust, right?
Where 6 million Jews were murdered by Hitler and his Nazi regime.
You know, the ramifications were extremely negative, and something that we just need to recognize as part of Canada's history, I think.
On the one hand, you want control of who comes in.
Blair was adamant that they needed immigrants to develop Canada's rural areas. But as he said, Jews were
city people and flocked there where they competed for coveted jobs. They didn't benefit us, and so we instituted measures to scale back. We have to take into account like so many factors, like security, economic factors. And on the other hand, you want to hopefully take into account humanitarian considerations. It's hard to imagine a time not so long ago when that wasn't the case.
So back to my question. How did Canada get its reputation as a multicultural nation?
He's kidding. The government enacted our Charter of Rights and Freedoms in 1982. It's been a member of the United Nations since it formed. And
okay, fine. We're not all bad and are mostly inclusive these days. But when it comes to the Jews and the MS St. Louis...
I wonder how many ministers or deputy ministers sitting around the table in 1936, 35 had raised the question, what if we accepted these people? Have we thought about the possibility of doing this in terms of enhancing our stature on the world stage? Are Canadians perhaps more generous than we're giving them credit for?
What would you have done if you were sitting around that table? Imagine it.
Do you think that Canada could have taken a leadership role like that at the time?